Hey people, hope this is better quality and contrast than it was last time. It was bit of a sunny day. I've just gone out of Man of Steel. It's coming about 6 o'clock. I didn't go to the earliest screening because I was finishing off and sorting out the review for this week. I'll just run down quickly and then I'll go into spoilers. It is a really good film. I can recommend it. I can tell you there's no after credit sequence, so they obviously don't have a plan like with the Marvel movies. So that's fine. It's a really good film. There isn't much I can really say against it. I'd say go watch it, and if you're not a fan of Superman, I'm not sure whether or not you'd be converted by watching it, but it's still a really good film. It's not heavy on references. It's not that sort of situation, which can be a problem with superhero films. But everything's really good. The cinematography, the acting. There are one or two bits of subtext which irritated me a little. Only a little. But as I say, I'll start off now. I will tell you about the story proper. So if you don't want to hear it, you can go. Beginning of the film is on Krypton as normal, and instead of it being a very sort of quick, like as in things like the animated series, and I think in the original films, but I can't remember the original films. They were very quick about it. They were, oh no, Krypton's about to explode. We will send our son away. In this one, there's a lot longer to it. There's a lot more of a. They're setting up more of how the people of Krypton were thinking at the time, which really works, actually. It really, really works to their advantage, because you get this idea that they've made these choices and they've doomed themselves. And it's Kal-El, Superman's father, is really trying to get across to them that they've done this. They can find a way to save themselves, or I thought there's a hilarious moment where he's sort of like, we can save our people. We can go to this other planet. What he actually means is, I can save my son. The rest of you can go burn. That's what he means. At least that's how it comes across right at the beginning. It really, really does. I was sat there just like, really? He's not saying he's going to save everyone else. He's saying, I'm going to save my son. You guys can go die. And then Zod basically comes in. And Zod is, I'd say he's less over the, well, he's more, there's a subtlety to him in comparison to the original. He never says during the film kneel before Zod. So apparently these guys learnt from Star Trek Into Darkness, don't repeat yourself. Don't use lines from other films, but the fans will not respect you. Oh, what were they thinking? And he comes in and says, "Oh, we will take over. We will free the world." And he's really, there is depth to the character, but there is a lot of sort of, he's your standard villain fare. He sees himself as right, and he's he's fascist dictator controller, and there is a reason behind it, and that's actually what I liked. It's not given till the end, but it's there. There's a point to it. And so you have Superman's father goes to get this thing called this Genesis Codex, which you don't learn until later basically hold all of the genetic data of Krypton. And he flies. They got their money's worth of their Russell Crowe, I'll tell you that. Even in death, Russell Crowe will just keep reappearing to you. Learned that trick from Anne Hathaway. No, wait, that was Hugh Jackman. And basically they have these. He oddly writes on essentially a dragon at one point, which is really weird. It's just like, okay, there's a sort of thing that looks like a dragon in a Superman movie. Okay, not gonna badmouth that. And he sends the Genesis Codex along with Kal-El to Earth, and it's how they begin the movie. And now, for a second, when they go from Krypton to Earth, I did wonder what they were doing for a minute, because suddenly it wasn't... You see the ship about to crash as normal, but then it cuts away, and it cuts to a fishing boat, and I suddenly realised what they've done was... Everyone knows the intro, they know this. Everyone knows how Superman comes about. And so they don't tell it in the normal way. They don't go... Krypton's destroyed, Superman lands on Earth, he's found by Jonathan and Martha Kent, and is raised... They go not 20 years, I thought it was 20. It's 33 years. They skip 33, about 33 years, I think it's meant to be. Because they say at one point he's spent 33 years on Earth. And they cut to it straight away. They cut to him on a fishing boat, hobo beard that you see in the trailers, because those are all early clips. They're actually, they're really early clips when I think about it. And you realise he's Superman quite quickly because they show off his powers. He runs into a burning oil rig and has the Taylor Lautner effect seem to happen to him. He's shirtless throughout that entire sequence. Shirtless for a good long while. And you see his abilities. And then they start to go back. They begin to, throughout the film, go back and forth between the present and his past. And it's actually a really clever trick, because you get to see... They use it as character development. You understand why he thinks the way he does, or why he's hiding from people. And the first scene you get of him is him as... he's 6, I think he's meant to be Tyas. I was reading the credits. And he's essentially... His powers are sort of like slowly coming in. It's like early onset puberty. And so you have this sort of moment where he's in class, and suddenly he's looking around, and he's very sort of wide-eyed. It essentially looks like he's freaking out. And you can see, it's a point of view shot, it becomes, and you can see his X-ray visions beginning to come in. He's seeing through the skin and looking at layers of muscle and bone. It's kind of creepy in a way. I mean, to put yourself in those shoes, 6 years old, and you're seeing the skeletal structures of people around you, and you have no freaking clue why it's happening. That's terrifying. And he runs. He tries to basically distance himself. He realizes it's interesting in a way, because there's a level of intelligence where he recognizes the fact of what's happening, and he realizes he needs to distance himself. And he hides in a closet for a little while, and teachers can't get him out. When one tries to, all throughout this movie, Superman's kind of a dick. Not like in the terrible way. He's not an asshole. He does things at times which are either petty or or perfectly placed jab at someone, and it's kind of beautiful. Because basically when the teacher tries to get hold of the doorknob and tries to open it, he blasts it with heat vision, and it's a really odd moment though, because when he's in this closet, all of the kids are surrounding it, and they're all going like, "Oh, he's a freak," and "Oh, he's so strange," and he can hear them because he can hear through the door. What school would let a group of kids stand around the door like that? Wouldn't they shoo them away? I mean, I had stuff when I was a little kid. I did stuff like that, and teachers shooed people away. They would never let them stand around the door where a kid was hiding. And basically, you have his mother appears, and then you get the thing that's the trailer. Him saying he's too big, that the world's too big, and you get that, and that's and what's funny is that's a hint at how he controls his powers. Later on it's explained. And that he focuses. He's having to sort of discipline himself to focus at all times to keep his powers from overwhelming him. And it continues. It keeps sort of flashing back, and there's bits. there is a great moment where because he's traveling around, and he's working in a bar at one point, and this guy's harassing this girl. It looks like he may have a little bit of a relationship with her, or at least they are very close friends. And the guy like pours his beer onto Superman, and it's just, there's a moment where you think he's gonna punch him and he's gonna crush him like a nut. No, he restrains himself. He holds himself back, and this guy tries to punch him. And there's initiated in the audience a round of laughter because it was a normal person trying to punch Superman. No, that doesn't work. It's just a great moment. It's a great moment. A guy tries to punch Superman. He sort of looks at his fist for a second. He's like, what the hell? And basically later on, the guy tries to punch it. He punches him as a trucker. He gets the guy's truck and shoves it onto a telephone pole. Like I said, Superman's a dick. And really difficult to remember these films sometimes. It's 2.5 hours. 2.5 hours. This film's really good. I think there's it introduces Lois Lane rather quickly, who becomes rather important, and given her portrayal in other films and in some other media, she is more the action battle style Lois Lane. She's not a damsel in distress. She investigates things. She is smart-mouthed. She's intelligent, and she isn't quite as sort of like respected yet as she does get. Obviously, because, well, actually, I think most of the parts where she begins to get more respect is due to Superman. But she's very confident. She goes out into Antarctic wilderness where these military people. She's gotten there because she has friends in the higher up in the military. And so she goes there, and she at night spots Superman moving about and follows him. She doesn't do an intelligent thing. She takes a picture of a robot that stabs her. It's like, why would you even take a photo of that? It's in an alien life form, you idiot. And so you have Superman saving her by cauterizing the wound, which is, I think, is kind of clever actually, because they've actually used his power. They used the powers practically. There was no sort of super breath. I didn't see that. It was standard stuff, but no super breath, which is kind of disappointing. Admittedly, I also would have liked it if Crypto the Super Dog had been in it, but that's just me. And so she tries to report the story about the Daily Planet, where Lawrence Fishburne is the editor, and Lawrence Fishburne's good. He's only in a couple of scenes, but he's good. I like Lawrence Fishburne. I wish he was in more things. And when he doesn't, he refuses to run the story, and this is where one of the major things comes up. There is a constant throughout the film, a constant saying of, oh, well, how will they react if they know? How will they react if they know we are not alone in the universe? And it's a lot of, oh, will they accept you? You are not one of them. And it's, I know that's been done in Superman with that whole idea, but it works. It really works because it's a standard fare. It's a constant. And it's used, it's there throughout the film. There's lots of drops to it. There's lots of moments, and one of the final choices he makes is between the two planets, technically. And so she leaks the story to people, and then sort of she begins tracking him. She tracks him down. For a guy who's tried to cover his tracks, he's not done a good job. And so she meets him once, and it gets brought up again. The whole thing of his father feared that they wouldn't accept him and that they'd be afraid of him, and it just continues. There's lots of references to that thought. And you've got Zod's appearance, and considering when he appears in the original Superman films with the whole kneel before Zod, he doesn't say it once, which I am impressed with. They didn't use it, but it's funny. There is a subtlety to it that he's not sort of grandiose. He doesn't appear in the midst of Metropolis and demand Superman appear. he sends a message which just keeps repeating the phrase, "You are not alone," and it's shown that it's being played in every country at once. Although I don't quite understand how. Somehow he managed to have it playing on every phone and television, every sort of like smartphone and television, and also had every light turn off. They don't explain how that happens. It's just like, okay. You may believe a man can fly, but can you believe this? It's an odd moment, but it passes. It's not really a problem to the thought. And so then you have him handing himself over to the military, there is a fun moment with the image from the posters with Superman in handcuffs. That's played for laughs. It is. He's talked to Lois Lane 'cause he says he wants to speak to her, and she says, "You let them put you in handcuffs?" And it's like, whatever makes them feel safer. And almost one of the first things he does afterwards is just snaps them. He just moves his wrists apart and breaks it. And it's interesting that he's not, as a character, his description a lot of times has been the sort of the Boy Scout character, where he's very sort of a goody two-shoes, and he's this all-American sort of thing, and he's not so much that in this. He's more a person. He is more a person, you could actually say, where he's making jokes, and he's sort of showing what he can do, but he's not forcing it. He's not threatening them. He's just showing. He's sort of he's giving them an insight. He's letting them know what he has as abilities, but he's not threatening them with the thought. He's just letting them know, and he's worrying. I don't know. It's not a threat. He's trying to just tell them. He's trying to inform them what needs to be told. And then basically he's taken onto the ship along with Lois for some reason. I don't quite know why. They don't really explain it. Zod sends out people. Zod sends out his sort of commander, who looks a little like Ursa but is not Ursa. Neither her or Non are in this. It's just him. It's just Michael Shannon, I think it is, playing. And I don't know why she's brought onto the ship, because he says, General Zod also wants her. It's like, we said we'd give you the alien, but not one of ours. It's like, why? Why does he... There doesn't seem to be a purpose or a reason, unless the only other reason is... Oh, no, actually, no, sorry. No, there is a reason. It gets brought up later. And basically, once he's on the ship, he passes out due to the atmosphere on the ship not being the same as Earth's, and has this sort of telepathic conversation with Zod about how your father wanted Krypton to be taken over, Earth to be taken over by the Kryptonian race, and it's a lot of bollocks, really. He's the bad guy. Why are you going to trust him? Russell Crowe amazingly is not only in like the first 15 minutes, he does do the sort of Marlon Brando reappearing as constantly as this sort of ghost hologram thing. There is a great moment though. Lois, when they're taken prisoner, Superman hands Lois this key, which has been shown and is constantly shown to be able to access panels, and it's Russell Crowe's character Kyle. It's his consciousness inside, and essentially anytime it gets plugged in, he can then access stuff, and he sort of becomes like Obi-Wan if Obi-Wan had way more power. He begins to be awesome. There's kind of a hilariousness to it, because basically he is suddenly all-seeing and all-knowing, where he's just like, you must go this way, lean left. There is actually a moment where she's about to be attacked, and he's just telling her exactly where to aim. He's just like, aim left, right, aim forward, look out. He shuts a door on a person. He slams a door onto an enemy. That's fantastic. And so Lois escapes, and Zod and Superman have their first sort of mini confrontation, where he escapes, and then I just realised I skipped something that I was going to say about, but was getting to this. And then basically, as Lois escapes, the pod's damaged, and Russell Crowe does his once was using his superpowers. Just says, punch a hole in the ship. And he's like, okay. And so to Superman, he sees it moving away, the pod with Lois in, and he says, you can save her. You can save all of them. And this is the thing that really annoys me. They only bring this up a couple of times. I only spotted it like twice, but it might have done one or a few more times. There has been a constant thing with Superman where he's been a Christ-like figure. He's been like Jesus Christ. And twice, I noticed at least, this appears. Once when he's in a church after Zod appears, because he's saying he doesn't know what to do. He talked to this priest. This priest takes it really well. Zod puts out this message. Next day, guy comes in and says, I am the alien everyone is looking for. And he just goes, okay. He just takes it really, really well. I guess after seeing a spaceship floating in the sky and a message from aliens, nothing shocks you at that point. It's just that moment. I'm just like, okay. But there's a shot where he's sitting and talking, and in the background, like here, you can see an image, and it's slightly blurred. You can't quite see what it is, but it's an image of Christ. It's a stained glass image of Christ, and that's the first time they do it. It's referencing it, which I imagine the bit that irritated me a little, because just like, wow, it's not that subtle, really, is it? When you do that, was when Kal-El goes to rescue Lois from the pod. He steps out by brings Lois together, arms out like he's on the cross. That's not subtle, not a bit. But I guess if you're only going to drop that a couple of times, and it is well known that that's been said, that he's supposed to be a Christ-like figure, and there's some people who do that subtly, and there's some people who don't. This is at least one of the ones that does it subtly. It does it a couple of times. Not going to go overboard with it, which is quite nice. And it just, it goes. I would actually think that's probably the second. That's probably the start of the second act, actually, which is really odd. It goes on for so long, you don't realise for because 2.5 hours. Obviously, it's a long film, but you don't recognise half the time how long you actually going to have going, because once he's saved Lois, Zod unleashes his true plan, which is he will use a terraforming device and change the Earth into Krypton again, and he will reclaim the genetic code from the Codex, which he thought Superman had hidden, but it's in him. It is him, which admittedly I'm guessing they might use if they make a sequel, because it's just what you would do. You'd use the foundation of it. And so, but by this point, Lois has been told, "Oh, how you can send them back, and you must tell her. You must tell Clark, because he will be able to do it as well." And so so once the terraforming device and Zod's ship on either side of the Earth begin terraforming, they unleash this plan where he will go to fight and stop one half of it, while they go to the other to basically drop this. It's the pod that he was sent to Earth in, but it's essentially become a bomb that will send them to the Phantom Zone. Because Phantom Zone always gets brought up. See, they make some references to the sort of the old stuff, but they don't make a lot of them. They don't make massive amounts, which is good. It's a good way to do it. And so you've got them trying to fight off the aliens, and you've got Superman, who's slightly weakened because if he's in the Kryptonian atmosphere, he can't use his powers, which is what the terraforming device is doing. So you have this moment where he's being sort of beaten down and beaten back, and he has to jump up and smash it. And then you get to one of the best parts of the movie, because this is just, in every Superman film I can think of, never has there been this. And this is the bit I loved, because this truly, if you're going to have two characters who are basically Superman, holy hell, this is how you should have a fight. Because after everything explodes and Zod's doing is, "You have destroyed all of our chances for Krypton. How dare you? I will break you in half. Blah, blah, blah." I can't stand it anymore. Monologues. And you have these moments. You have this. Basically, this is a fight, straight up fight between Zod and Superman, and this city is getting wrecked. It's fantastic. They're basically and actually, with all of them actually, while they're on the episode, although I don't know why the others in the suits are able to move like that at some points. That doesn't make too much sense. Zod is exposed to the atmosphere at one point, the Earth's atmosphere, and thus gains the powers. This becomes basically on par with Superman. Whereas for some reason, the two officers who they certainly have like the super strength, but they are wearing these massive robot-style suits, which probably what do it. Which I can only imagine. But this fight is brutal. It is a brutal sort of fight. They're just, every punch you can feel the power behind it. That these truly are superpower beings, and they are smashing each other across the city. They are breaking buildings in half and throwing tanker trucks at each other. It's phenomenal. And there was one nice little moment. Tanker truck gets thrown right across it. LexCorp. It's a sneaky reference. It's what I like. I like my sneaky references. Because I'm glad that they didn't do that. I'm glad that he doesn't appear at any point and be like, "Oh, hi, I'm Lex Luthor. Nice to meet you." It would have ruined it. Because if you get too focused on trying to bring in different villains at once, you spoil it. Which is Spider-Man 3's problem. That's what Spider-Man 3's problem was. You can't have Sandman and Venom. No. Gotta have one or the other. And it's just a brutal fight, and it basically comes down to this point. They're in Metropolis when they're fighting, so it's not an actual landmark, but they're in this what should be a train station. Probably was sort of like Grand Central Station where they shot it. It couldn't. Actually, I think most of it's filmed in Canada, so it's somewhere in Canada. I don't know my geography. And basically, he's using the heat vision, aiming at this like group of this family of four. He's like, "You will have to choose. You will. Can you do it? Will you be able to?" And he's pushing him, and he's basically saying about how he was bred from birth to be a warrior, and this is brought up earlier as well, that all of the people on Krypton are bred for the specific purpose. Which makes me think of the film Ants, where it's love. "Oh, you will be a worker. You will be a soldier. You will be a scientist." All these, and everything he has done up to this point, Zod, everything he's done has been to further Krypton, to help them, and that no matter how cruel or malicious the act seemed, it was not his choice. It's just how he was raised, and that's good. That's really, really clever. Because essentially you've not got a character who's being evil for any malicious purposes. He just thinks it's the right idea. He believes in it so much that nothing can stop him from doing it. And despite any sort of empathy or emotion he might have had, it's drummed out of him. Because he cannot think like that. He must just continuously believe. And so basically Superman is pushed to the very limit and kills him, snaps his neck, takes his ass out. And it's just funny, because he didn't want to, he really doesn't. There is twice they do the sort of, "No!" Unfortunately, the guy who plays Superman, Henry Cavill, not the best face for close-ups at times. He makes these really, really weird faces when he's sometimes, and it's the close-ups when it's this look of rage, but it looks really weird, and he's really off for a second. It just makes me laugh. That's the problem. And yeah, and then that's pretty much it. You have these sort of moment of, you don't see the Fortress of Solitude. It is referenced. I think it's referenced. He basically, once that's all done, and you get this clip where he takes down his military satellite, and the commander from earlier is complaining to him, saying, "Oh, don't you know that was a $12 million satellite? That satellite cost $12 million. It did." It's a dick. And basically, you have this moment of that he references it. He references sort of Fortress Solitude for a minute. But he says where I hang up my cape. He never states that clearly, and you never see it. So they're obviously holding some stuff back, which is good. It's a good idea. Hold some stuff back and make us wait. And then there is the one obligatory thing. He starts working at the Daily Planet, and funnily enough, they're clever about it. They state about why he's working there, about that they won't suspect him if he's asking questions or wants to go to somewhere dangerous. The disguise is still the issue. I know that the reason Superman is not meant to be able to be recognized is the mannerisms, but in the one scene you see of him in his proper Clark Kent persona, there isn't much of a difference in mannerisms to make me believe that that's not the same person. He's wearing the glasses. He has to wear the glasses. He does look funnily enough, he looks like Mark Ruffalo, which really weirded me out for a second. Because there's fair few moments in this film where it turns into the Hulk. It's just, because when he's first learning to fly, he's just sort of jumping, and he just keeps the leap. He just leaps first, which I like as a reference to the original Superman, where he wasn't able to fly, he just leapt. He was just able to leap really, really far. And it just turns into Hulk slightly, which makes me laugh. There's lots of things to do when it comes to this film. And that's it. And that's where the sort of film ends out. And there's a nice little because Lois knows who he is about halfway through the film, actually. And basically, there's a nice little reference of welcome to the planet, which is it's nice that it's a nice little nod and a wink to it. I will say one thing: the Jimmy Olsen character I know was turned into a female character, and she's Jenna Olsen. She doesn't really have that much to do, so really, there's no. They could bring in a Jimmy. They could bring in Jimmy Olsen. It wouldn't matter. Lawrence Fishburne and a guy who's I don't know his name's stated, but his name's said about five or six times. I just didn't hear it. A scene throughout, so you get a bit of time with them, but not a lot. And there's a scene when the terraforming device is like breaking the planet, the Jenna Olsen is about to be killed, and they're trying to save her, and they're saved at the last second. But I don't know, it's not really that big a deal. I can understand why people are irritated. It's like, oh no, how dare you remove Jimmy Olsen? He is so important to the thing. It's like different series. It's really grittier though as a thing. Like Krypton is not, and ironically, I when I was thinking about this in the cinema, I said, oh, Krypton's not quite the Metropolis it normally is. I was like, Metropolis. Terrible humour. And it's not a sort of shining utopia. It's much more sort of dirty in a way. It's this sort of brown grittiness to it, which really comes across in the difference. It's not in the same way. This is the problem of doing a review and you can't hear people walking past. And so I really can't think of much more to talk about. It's a good film. I really enjoyed it, and other than some of the occasionally not too sort of symbolism of the whole Jesus Christ thing, I can't fault it on anything. I really can't see the point to fault it on anything. I liked it. I'm sure it's going to do well. I imagine that maybe some people will find problems with it. I haven't, because I'm fairly optimistic with these sort of things. I like these films. I did better than the last film I watched. Last film I watched was epic. No, it was epic. Just no. I'll save my rage for that for a whole different time. But it's a really good film. You can sort of see where it's a Zack Snyder film. There's a lot of these odd, like, long shots to mid shots where they move in very quickly. And there's a few of those. Zack Snyder seems to have a bit of a fetish. But I can't really fault him. He's a good director when he's doing things. I mean, I didn't like Watchmen that much. I thought it was a bit boring. I've read the comic, and when I watched the film, I was just like, ran on a bit, ran on. I haven't seen 300. I've seen bits of it, but I just don't care for it. Don't want to watch it really. But it seems fine, and it's the fight scenes are really good. The fight scenes are wonderful because even when you have the earlier ones with where he's Superman fighting against the not Ursa and this other big dude, I can refer to it as not non because that's it. They are essentially those characters, but not called those characters. And it's this sort of frenetic fight where just the power behind every punch is almost exaggerated to a degree, which is correct. It's how you should do it. It should be exaggerated to a degree. And it's really good and wonderful, and I really enjoyed it. I will probably go see it again because I know people who want to go see it, and I would like to probably go see it and go through and just see if there was anything I missed. And I'll probably get it almost immediately when it comes out on DVD. I would say it's better than Dark Knight Rises. I don't know if it's better than The Dark Knight. Definitely better than Dark Knight Rises. Because the villains are strong and there's more sort of depth to it, and I don't know. It's definitely on par with The Dark Knight Rises. The Dark Knight. It's definitely on par with that film. I can say for that. Now, as my camera is a tad low on battery, I'm going to wrap this up. I'm going to go home. I'll plug the camera into record, and I'll talk about the trailers at home. So, back soon. Okay. Two things I actually had forgotten before I talk about the trailers. One, whoever the person who's playing the baby Superman, you see his penis about 3 times. So at least he can say, hey, I had full screen nudity in Superman. I just remembered that on the way back, because it's like 3 times the close-up of the baby is like, oh, good God, penis. Okay. Another thing is, I can't remember if I mentioned it. They don't refer to him as Superman throughout most of the film. It's probably not until towards the climax that finally someone does refer to him as that. Because Lois says it at one point and then gets stopped. And that's bad. That's it. But those are the 2 things I just forgotten about when I was talking about things. So, be a break, and then trailers. Okay, so the trailers, I can already say Lone Ranger and Pacific Rim. I would probably go see both. I sort of went off Johnny Depp after Dark Shadows. And by went off, I mean I will slap him if I see him. Freaking hate Dark Shadows. Awful movie. And it looks interesting. I love the fact that the guy who's playing the Lone Ranger, who's playing one of the main characters, has the greatest name I've ever heard of, Armie Hammer. It sounds like he should be in an 80s buddy cop movie at some point. It sounds like it should be a Sylvester Stallone character. And then Pacific Rim, there is nothing that will stop me from seeing Pacific Rim. Guillermo del Toro could come out tomorrow and say some very racist or sexist remarks. I'd still go see the film. It looks awesome. It's a Japanese style monster movie done with a very, very big budget. What's not to love? What is really not to love about that? Snitch, which is the Rock trying to bring down drug dealers to free his son. I don't know. I'll admit, the Rock at least seems like he's becoming a competent actor and he's not in stupid things. Why he ever accepted kids' movies roles, I won't know, because he's not good in those, and he wasn't good in Doom, although neither was Carl Urban. I freaking love Carl Urban. But he seems like he's better. It seems, if I was more into action movies like that, then I might go. If someone said to me, hey, do you want to come see Snitch? I'd go, yeah, okay. That's what I'd probably do. And finally, a film I'm not going to go see, I've seen someone review it. I've seen the Cinema Snobs group review it already. It's not going to be my movie, which is The Internship, which is Vince Vaughn and Owen Wilson trying to get a job at Google. I don't really like Owen Wilson, and Vince Vaughn has slowly begun to grate on my nerves, so why would I want to watch a film where they're the main characters and there's no one else to try and bounce the humour off? And people were laughing at some of the jokes in the trailer, but obviously, hindsight, I already knew about it. And I could see it. I could see what that film would be, which is essentially just sort of like, oh look, these two people are old. They do not get the internet. Who gives a... I really thought those sort of plots and those sort of jokes would have gone out by now. That they wouldn't be around. I get the idea back in that's... Because I've seen other films do it. I've seen films, TV shows do those plot lines. When you're trying to have someone who doesn't know how to use or doesn't like using the technology, and I just don't know. I just don't really care. It's... I gotta admit, probably the thing that repels me is mostly Vince Vaughn and Owen Wilson. I don't like Owen Wilson that much at all. I don't know. There's a film just come out in America called This Is the End, which I might see because it's getting really good reviews, but it has several people who I don't like, including Jonah Hill, who I don't think is ever funny because he's playing the same character all the time. But at least I know that film, that it's meant to be quite funny, and that they're playing themselves, so at least he's not playing the same character he always will be. Unlike Johnny Depp in The Lone Ranger, who is, as always, playing Johnny Depp. He looks like at the beginning of... not the beginning, when he's being chased by the cannibals in Pirates of the Caribbean 2, when he's dressed up with the makeup on. That's what he looks like. He just happens to have a bird attached to his head. That's about it. But nothing new on the trailers, nothing big or interesting, which is unfortunate. I'd hoped that maybe there'd be something better. I don't know what. I hoped for something. I hoped to get... And it's something interesting, something that might really draw me in. But nothing really did. Even the sort of advert for Despicable Me that we had, because it wasn't an actual trailer, it was just an advert to say you can book your tickets, which I will be doing. That one is on the list for another one of these reviews, and for all intents and purposes, Hayley should be joining me. She couldn't this time, mainly just due to the time constraints, because as I explained at the beginning of the review, I was here, I was working, trying to get the review up for Friday, so didn't have time to go and pick her up, and I didn't get the review up till about 1, and by that point I was just like, well, I'll sit and I'll finish it, and then I went out and went to see the film. But that's it. I'm currently working on a few things. I'll just, general update. I'm currently working on ideas and trying to get other videos up. I'm trying to move up to doing something about once a week. I know that right now it looks like I'm being engulfed by the sun. It's because it's actually begun to brighten up instead of the rainy weather we were having. I am trying to do that, but there's I'm in university at the moment. Well, not at the moment because holidays. But I'm about to go into my 3rd year, and one of the things we need to do is a work experience thing, and I've sorted mine, kind of. And so part of that's drawing my attention. So I will continue to attempt to put up a video every 2 weeks, as I've been doing for the last few months. And so hopefully you enjoyed this video, and hopefully you'll come back and watch some more of my poor comedy. Nothing but self-deprecating humour here. See ya.